Hey, happy, beautiful, amazing day. Dr. Bob Rakowski here out of Houston, Texas. And a wonderful friend of mine, Zaf Khan, asked me if I would share some information on motor neuron disease. So I'm happy to do that. Little background on me. I've been in clinical practice now right at 30 years. I've treated both ends of the spectrum, elite athletes, world champions from every major professional sport, and the critically ill, right? People that were sent home to die, and thankfully many of them are still alive today. Their body rallied with natural methods. I've also taught doctors all over the world, 6 different continents, 10,000 hours of continuing education seminars. So let's jump into motor neuron disease. A few of the more famous people, Lou Gehrig, and it was named Lou Gehrig's disease. You know, this guy was the Iron Man of baseball, but yet he lived less than 2 years after his diagnosis. Stephen Hawkins lived 55 years after his diagnosis. And by the way, he said not having to deal with his body really freed up and expanded his mind. So these are a group of, notice what it says, rare neurodegenerative disorders. And then they name different types. So this is not very common at all. And then I look up what I call etiology, or the cause of what causes these diseases. And this is NIH.gov, National Institutes of Health. Some are inherited, but the causes of most are not known. And then they say environmental, toxic, viral, and/or genetic factors may actually play a role. So here's the question always of nature versus nurture. I think cancer is a pretty good condition to look at nature versus nurture. And the best of the best tell us now that cancer is, 5 to 10% genetic and 90 to 95% environmental. And I think that's pretty good across the board. Fascinating study. They took a normal cell and a cancer cell and they swapped the genetic material. When they put a cancer genetic nucleus, cancer genetic material into a normal cell, they actually created normal cells. So it was the environment, not the genetics, that determined the outcome. And vice versa, when they put a normal nucleus into a cancer cell body, into a cancer environment, those cells became cancerous. So the environment is definitely the dominant player. And here are 4 things in our environment that are really, really bad across the board. So this was an article called The Deadly Quartet, and they talked about obesity, high blood pressure, prediabetes, and unhealthy blood lipids as being what would really kill people. But I think we know a lot better now. It's really stress, toxins, malnutrition, and physical inactivity, often leading to obesity, that create this challenge. Within the question was also lupus. So here's a very sad case. This young lady, Sasha McHale, was the daughter of a former basketball Hall of Fame player, Kevin McHale, who played with Larry Bird. And notice what this says. She died from lupus-related complications. Now, I dug into that case, literally talked to family members. She didn't die from lupus. They gave her immunosuppressive drugs, and then she got a lung infection she couldn't beat and died of pneumonia. So what about this concept of autoimmunity? Is our immune system designed to protect us? And absolutely it is. And New England Journal of Medicine says that immune action or autoreactivity against our own cells is absolutely normal. It's like weeding the garden. We have 50 trillion cells. When those cells become unhealthy, sick, or a threat to the body, the immune system takes them out. So what's causing the problem? Why have we had such a dramatic rise in autoimmune disease? Well, our genetics haven't changed, our environment has. And so one of the things our immune system is supposed to do is differentiate self from non-self. Simple an example here is, let's say someone needed a kidney and I say, well, I've got 2, let me give you one. Listen, if my kidneys aren't close to being a genetic match, that body will reject them. And even if it is close, they will give anti-rejection drugs because your immune system is supposed to attack anything that does not belong to your body. So this Marine was badly burned. And I use this analogy when I teach my students. If you're the guard at the military base and you use facial recognition, if this guy shows up, you let him in. If this guy shows up, you say, look, I don't recognize you. I can't let you in. And that's what happens with our immune system as well. And the journal Autoimmunity says very simply, there's a relationship between cell injury and autoimmune disease. It can be a physical trauma. It can be a biochemical trauma. It can be an infectious trauma. It can be a toxin trauma. All those traumas can be triggers of autoimmunity. So lots of studies on stress and autoimmunity. This one quantified it from the Journal of the American Medical Association. If you type in PMID colon and this number, you can find the article. But basically, when someone had a stress-related disorder, 136% increased risk of autoimmune disease. Post-traumatic stress disorder, 146% increased risk of any autoimmune disease, 229% increased risk for multiple autoimmune diseases. When we look at toxin-induced autoimmunity, nearly 2,000 peer-reviewed medical studies going back almost 60 years. Malnutrition is a trigger. I really think there should be more than that. The World Health Organization says that malnutrition is the top cause of death on the planet, but 44 different references there. And how about obesity? Nearly 3,400 references where obesity appears to be a major contributing factor to the progression of autoimmune disease. That's where I'm throwing in not enough exercise, but really it's all the above. Stress, toxins, malnutrition, physical inactivity, all contribute to obesity. So what do we do about it? We live clean. I call them the Magnificent Seven. We've got to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right every single day. And there are some universal immune balancing nutrients, and this is in the peer-reviewed medical literature. So vitamin D, DHEA, Ganoderma, and perilla seed. And by the way, when I look at this article on Ganoderma, it talks about immune modulation. And that means if your immune system is overactive or underactive, it helps to create the ideal level of balance. And this reference says it can be used to treat and or prevent autoimmune disease. I love sharing health. I love empowering people to health, happiness, and success. So if this helps you, share it. And I can be reached at thedrbob.com. And as I always like to sign off, I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, absolutely knowing that we can all be happy, healthy, and successful.